It seems the Labour government is developing a secretive AI program to snoop on your social media posts. Yes, you heard that right. Big Brother is no longer just watching, he's scrolling through your Twitter feed. Hi, I'm Patrick Christys and this is GBN Originals. It appears our government is taking surveillance to a whole new level. The Department for Science, Innovation and Technology, or DSIT as it's known, has recently awarded a £2.3 million contract to a company called Faculty AI. And what are they getting for this pretty penny? Well, an AI program designed to trawl through social media posts. Now, they claim this is all about national security and public safety. That's what they always claim, for absolutely anything. But the government says this new tool, which they've codenamed the Counter Disinformation Data Platform, or CDDP, is focusing on foreign interference in elections. But here's where it gets interesting, because according to documents obtained by Big Brother Watch, this tool has the ability to be pivoted to focus on any priority area. Any priority area. Let that sink in for a moment. The government is keeping its cards close to its chest on this one. And if you think that I'm being a little bit paranoid, well, let me remind you of the Counter Disinformation Unit, the predecessor to this new outfit. They were criticised for monitoring journalists, activists, and even MPs who challenged the government's narrative during the pandemic. So much for free speech, eh? This unit, now rebranded as the National Security Online Information Team, has links with intelligence agencies, and we all know how transparent and accountable they are, don't we? So Jake Herford from Big Brother Watch hit the nail on the head when he said, "There is a risk that the Ministry of Truth lives on." And he's got a point. This isn't just about protecting us, it's about who gets to decide what information is problematic. But wait, there's more. Since 2021, the government has spent more than 5.3 million quid on this CDDP and other so-called disinformation projects. They're even interested in detecting coronavirus disinformation and analysing climate-related mis/disinformation on social media. Now, I don't know about you, but I find it quite concerning that the government thinks it has the right to decide what constitutes misinformation about topics as complex and contentious as climate change. Last time I checked, we still lived in a democracy where debate and differing opinions were not just allowed, but actively encouraged. And let's not forget, these counter-disinformation teams have shown interests in social media posts criticising the COVID-19 vaccines, something they are now offering to pregnant mothers to hope that it gets into the fetus's bloodstream quicker. This raises serious questions about our fundamental right to freedom of speech. It's a development that could lead to a situation where every single tweet, every single Facebook post, every single online comment is scrutinised by AI, artificial intelligence, for what the government deems to be problematic. The most infuriating part? Well, they're doing all this with our money, aren't they? So your hard-earned tax money is going so that you can be spied on. It's ridiculous. That £2.3 million contract, that's your cash they're using to potentially monitor online discourse.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cybercriminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
This development comes at a time when concerns about online disinformation and its impact on society are at an all-time high. Some argue that unregulated social media and the spread of so-called disinformation is wrecking Britain. However, the solution to this perceived problem is far from straightforward. On the one hand, there's a legitimate need to combat foreign interference in our democratic process and protect public safety. I think most people will accept that. We don't want very high-tech foreign activists to be able to influence us, whether it's through hacking, whether it's through genuine misinformation or propaganda or whatever. None of us want that. However, we have seen how misinformation can spread like wildfire on social media, influencing elections, even public health responses. I would also argue that in the age of AI, ironically, it's very easy for a fake picture or video or audio recording of someone to be put out there and for that to be halfway around the world by the time that person wakes up, realizes it exists and tells you all it's fake. But the government argues that tools like this CDDP group are necessary to safeguard our democracy in a digital age. Now I fundamentally disagree with that, because here's the other hand, isn't it? We must be vigilant against any measures that could infringe on our civil liberties and freedom of speech. And I'm sure many people watching this will have seen the video clip that emerged over the weekend of a middle-aged woman in the Greater Manchester area getting a knock on the door by 2 police officers because she'd put something on Facebook saying that local Labour MPs and councillors should resign for taking part in a WhatsApp group that included some absolutely horrendous stuff in there. She didn't put anything in there that was inciting violence. She didn't put anything in there that was racist, or unlike that WhatsApp group, by the way. No, she just said that they should resign. And 2 police officers knocked on her door. Elsewhere in the country is a former Royal Marine, in fact this one was in Wales, who released a video as he was walking around the hills of Wales, that beautiful countryside, in which he said that he thought there was a problem with mass illegal immigration. This was near the time of those Southport attacks. A Labour staff member reported him to police. He was dragged through the court system. He pleaded not guilty. And ultimately, it took a jury of his peers just a couple of hours to clear his name. But you've got Labour politicians there and Labour staff members reporting members of the public to police for stuff they disagree with on social media. I find that quite disturbing. And here we are now, because we're going to be seeing Labour using this line, this fine line between combating disinformation and censoring legitimate dissent. In fact, it can be a dangerously fine line now. We've already seen instances where government efforts to counter misinformation have led to the suppression of valid scientific debate and political discourse, and indeed people have been prosecuted for it. It's worth noting that there isn't just an issue here in the UK. No, across the pond in the United States, similar concerns are being raised. J.D. Vance, a prominent political figure, the vice president, has warned that hundreds of people are being charged with speech crimes. This highlights the global nature of the debate surrounding free speech in the digital age. We're seeing a trend where governments worldwide are grappling with the challenge of regulating online speech. From the EU's Digital Services Act to various national laws aimed at combating fake news, there's a growing push to exert more control over the digital public square. But at what cost? I mean, Germany is one of the most ridiculous examples of this. In Germany, it basically is a crime to retweet something that turns out to be false. It's a crime to insult someone on social media. That is bonkers. This isn't about left or right wing. I mean, this isn't about Labour or Conservative. This is about the fundamental principles of freedom and democracy that this great nation was built on. It's about asking the tough question, who decides what's disinformation? You know, I don't mind saying this. What does it mean for people like me? What does it mean for me going on national television and dishing out my views on a major issue of the day? So I will have something dropped into my lap that might be breaking news at 7 p.m. And when I go to air at 9 p.m, me and my panellists and my guests have a view on that. If the government don't like that view, then do we all get banged up? Do we get a knock on the door from the police? Is that the way it's going to be now? What safeguards are in place to prevent abuse? How can we ensure that these tools aren't used to silence legitimate criticism, to stifle political debate? Because if a government of the day, and in this case here it's a Labour government, who are very, very quick to encourage the police round to your front door if they don't like something that they've seen on social media, if they set the rules about what they class as being disinformation, and they can use the case of it's a national emergency or we're doing this for your own protection to reinforce that, well, I think that's a very dangerous place to be. We need more transparency. We need more accountability. Most of all, we need to send a clear message to this government and others around the world that we want answers about this new technology and its potential implications. We need to have a national conversation about the role of our technology in our democracy. How can we harness the power of AI and big data to strengthen democratic institutions without compromising our values? How can we promote digital literacy, critical thinking, to make our society more resilient to misinformation? We also can't ignore the role of big tech companies in this debate. So social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, now X, of course, and YouTube have become the new public square. Now, in the round, I think that's a good thing. They do wield enormous power, though, in shaping the public discourse. They're often a bit opaque in their content moderation practices. Should we be relying on private companies to police speech, or should we be looking at more decentralized open source solutions that put power back in the hands of their users? Do you not think there's a coincidence here, a startling coincidence, that as Elon Musk over at X and Mark Zuckerberg over at Facebook appear to have shifted to the right? In the case of Elon Musk, definitely shifted to the right. But in the case of Mark Zuckerberg, now going on record on podcasts like Joe Rogan's and revealing that the Biden administration, the Democrats, were putting pressure on him to censor things on Facebook. Now that's stopped. Do you not think it's a bit of a coincidence that a lot of governments are trying to enact laws and new policies that make it unable for us to have free speech online? I would say that's not a coincidence. But these are questions that we need to grapple with as a society. Our right to free speech, the cornerstone of our democracy, I think is potentially under massive, massive threat. And once you lose those rights, well, you have to fight very hard to get them back, if you get them back at all. I think it's time to make your voices heard, to demand answers, to engage in public debates, to stay informed about these issues. Please don't let the complexities of technology intimidate you. These are fundamentally questions about what kind of society we want to live in going forward. Remember, in a truly free society, the answer to speech we don't like isn't censorship or surveillance. It's to counter it with more speech. Well, let's keep the conversation going then with that in mind. Let's ensure that our digital public square remains a place for open, honest, and diverse dialogue. And look, just remember this. You don't have a right to not be offended. I don't have a right to not be offended, but we also have a right to counter that with the views of our own. And therefore, we all need to have the ability to be able to speak freely. This is Patrick Christys. Don't forget to subscribe to the GB News YouTube channel for all of the latest updates.